Welcome everybody to Art for the Heart. I'm Anne Marie and I'm going to read the mission statement to get us started. Helping Parents Heal is a non-profit organisation dedicated to assisting bereaved parents to become shining light parents by providing support and resources to aid in the healing process. We go a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and afterlife evidence in a non-dogmatic way. We welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background, and allow for open dialogue. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Christy Majors. I am going to read Christine's bio. Give me just a minute here. Art has always been a lifeline for me. As an art teacher, I have had the privilege of guiding students of all ages through a wide range of creative mediums. In March of 2021, while teaching high school ceramics, my world changed when my 17-year-old son, Xavier, passed from fentanyl poisoning. In the months that followed, I stepped away from the classroom to protect my own heart, but I never stepped away from learning or creating. In the space grief carved out, I found a new sense of purpose. With Xavier beside me in spirit, I became certified as a grief educator, trained in grief movement, and co-founded Honoring X, a creative, mindful space for parents navigating life after loss. During that time, my art became small, intimate, and deeply personal. Watercolor, neurographic art, collage, even hand-painted furniture, each piece a quiet conversation between me, my son, and me. I've recently returned to teaching, this time at the elementary level. For a long while, being around children was painful and triggering, but eventually I found the gentle pull to return, to step into a new chapter for myself and for my family, both here and in spirit. I'm grateful to share space, creativity, and healing with other parents who understand this journey. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And thank you so much, Christine, for joining us again. For those of you who have not seen the previous meeting where Christine showed us how to make how do I say this correctly? A tinfoil embossed.
The embossed
Tinfoil
foil.
embossed butterfly. That's a great, fun project. And it is in the featured section of our group with all the other previously recorded meetings. So I'm going to just let you share, Christine, with us. For those of you who haven't seen the previous video and don't know you, maybe you can share with us your journey into being an artist and tell us about your son and whatever else you feel compelled to share with us.
Thank you, Christy. Hi, everybody. So happy to be here. I feel so honored to do this with you guys, to do anything with helping parents heal, and especially be with kindred spirits such as yourselves. And this project that I'm doing, that we're going to do tonight, is something that it's a personal thing that I've been doing. I was working with my therapist over the past few months, and one of the topics that came up was faith. Was a loss of faith. It was, I kept saying, I'm worried about this and I'm worried about that, and all these things. And she had brought up, she said, well, how do you feel? Do you feel like maybe you have lost faith? And I was never a churchy person, but it hit me like a ton of bricks. It really did. And I just think I had spent, Xavier passed it'll be 5 years ago on the 12th of March. And I've spent so long just thinking that, the universe is punishing me, and what have I done? And waiting for the other shoe to drop, all the things that we all worry about. And so when she said that to me, it hit me so hard. And so I started looking into it, having more conversations about it, and reading and whatnot. And I I read Gabby Bernstein's The Universe Has Your Back. I really like her a lot. I'm really interested in the work that she does. And she too has lost a child. She was 5.5 months pregnant, I believe, when she lost her son. And for me, that's why I was drawn to David Kessler too. It's the fact that he had lost a child. It just makes it so much more. We all know this, right? It just makes it so much more relatable, I think, than a grief expert or somebody who hasn't been in our shoes. And anyway, so I read the book, and there's meditations and there's all kinds of different things in it. And then I started doing. She has a 21-day challenge that popped up right around the same time. That was a faith. It kind of like from fear to faith 21-day challenge on her app and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you, Xavier. This is cool. Let's do this. One of the things that.
Can you say that again, Christine?
Yes,
sorry, I missed the name of it.
Yeah, so it's Gabby Bernstein. It's on her app. She has multiple challenges that you can do, and she has like daily cards that you can pull. And the challenge that I did was I believe it was 21-day fear to faith, I believe is what it was called. And I just thought, I was like, oh, okay, yep, this is for me. And one of the things that she did in it is it's called a prayer triangle. And this prayer triangle, which is what we're going to do tonight, this prayer triangle is a place where you can leave notes, leave wishes, leave things that you're worried about, write notes into it and leave it in there. And what she recommends is you leave it in and you release it. And a lot of what she says is the faith comes in from the release of control. We all know we don't, have good control over a lot of things. And so having to build that faith again is believing that you'll be cared for. And one of the prayers was about like feeling like thanking the universe for holding me just like it held my son. And so this holy triangle, I just love the idea. I've done this before with notes and stuff, and then you keep it in for a week and you're essentially releasing it hand on heart and letting it go to the universe. And then in a week you burn it, obviously in the sink, not in an open field. And you're really just, it's the act of just sort of letting go. And if it's letting God, or if it's letting the universe, or if it's whatever you believe in, it just sort of touched me. And so I made a couple different versions of this triangle. This is kind of a persnickety material that I'm using. And so one of them collapsed, and but it was funny because it's something that I get from my son a lot is trust, mom, trust. And one of the 3 points of the triangle is trust. One is faith, and one is love, and one is trust. So I don't know. I hope that you guys like it. I love that it doesn't require firing. Not all of us have access to a kiln, which is it's too bad, but I think this is a pretty good substitute for it. So I think that I love that I could put like little trinkets in it. If you have cards that you work with, or rocks, or I have a rosary in mine with a candle, and I have my and you can change it out. I have my note in there will be burned within the week too. So I hope you guys like it.
I'm sure it'll be great. And I like that you can make it as big or small as you want with this.
Yes.
With this air dry. I've never worked with air dry clay before, so I'm excited to see how this goes.
Yeah.
And I think this is what I'm hosting the art group at my house next week. So if I feel confident, this is probably what we'll do when they come
I love it.
I love this idea, Christine. I'm so excited. It sounds incredible.
Oh,
I don't know anything about this.
Can I ask
all ears?
Yes, please.
Sorry.
No, please.
Were we supposed to have the materials? Did I miss? I mean, I just joined last minute, so
No.
This will be recorded, and you can go back and do it at your leisure or whenever it's convenient for you.
I thought everybody had it, and I
I do
I
not.
don't.
Okay. Thank
I
you.
find it easier to watch
Yeah.
the person do whatever they're doing and then
Okay.
go
Thank
back
you.
and rewatch again while I'm doing
Okay.
it.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I agree. I agree. I think it's a lot easier to watch, and then you can just hit pause as you need to. So why don't I just go ahead and jump in it and see if I can do this right. I'm gonna get into my camera, also tech challenged. So we practiced this about 50 times. So hopefully this will work. I'm already off.
Take your time. We're not
Okay.
in a hurry.
Christy, I nearly wore a dress today that is the exact same match to your top.
Did you really? That would have been.
We would have been twinsies.
Can you see it okay?
Yes.
Yep,
Okay.
perfect.
Yay, fantastic. All right. So this is my fancy black trash bag. I'm hoping that with the ring light and stuff you can see. So I put some of my things in here. My little note is in here too. I'm going to take some of this out. I usually light a candle. I have a picture of my son on my desk, and I usually light a candle every time I'm at my desk, especially if I'm trying to do something creative and working with him. So you can see, here's my little note all folded up. So it's the triangle. That glare is kind of hard. I just bought a ring light and I'm wondering if the glare is, can you see it okay?
We can see it okay, but yeah, I agree. Like the glare, you can't see. I know that there's a
Yeah,
spiral on that circle, and
Yeah,
a bit bright.
let me fix some of this lighting. Hang on, I'm sorry. Is that better?
yes, that's
Okay.
better.
Yeah.
Okay. When we were playing with this earlier today, it was daylight, so we could see a little bit better. So I have the three corners of the triangle is faith and trust and love. And I like that I can, depending on, for me, trust is always a big one. I thought to myself, like, what would be a symbol of trust? And the spiral came up for it. And then I did some wings for faith, but you can do your own. And then I've got the little heart, but it's made out of, gosh, that glare is something else. Let me see what I could do about fixing that glare. It's a coil base, and then so I made a slab on the bottom, and then we built coil. So let me move that, and let me just get started, and let's see how the color works. So what I did is, I pre-made mine just so that I had some stuff ready to go. The clay, I'm using the Crayola brand clay, which there's higher quality. Excuse me with the noise. There's higher quality air dry clay out there, but I just happen to have some of this in my classroom, and then I bought myself a little bit more to practice with at home off of Facebook Marketplace. So I was like, for $15, let's give it a try. It's the first thing that I recommend doing with this is I would take some out, and I would leave it out to dry for probably 24 hours. So just give yourself a little head start. What you're doing is you're making something called slip. So anyone who's ever worked with clay would know what slip is. So slip is essentially, it becomes your glue. It's a mud. So what I would take my chunk of dry clay. You could take a little bit more than this, break it down, and then rehydrate it. You're not trying to make clay again from it. What you're trying to do is you're making like a mud from it. You can kind of see here. I'm just stirring it up a little bit. This is what's going to be your adhesive while you're attaching everything. And this is something that you can't skip, and you don't want to use regular glue or anything like that. So I have some ceramic tools that I bought, but you can use, so you can see some of the stuff that I have. I have like ceramic tools. These are actually tools that you can use for decorating cakes. Believe it or not, for the frosting and the fondant and stuff like that. But I like the little pointing, the rubber that has a little bit of give in it. Toothpicks, a sponge. If you were to buy anything, I would recommend these are called rib tools, RIB, rib tools. And these are really good for smoothing out. They have like a sloped side to them. This is something that you could just buy really cheap on Amazon, or at a hardware store, but at a art supply like Blick store, like Blick online or something like that. And we could sell the packages of just regular clay tools. It's something that always works really well. So when I'm working with this clay, I always have a plastic bag nearby, and any of my clay that I'm not working with, I leave it in the plastic bag. It dries out. This dries out pretty quick. And if you ever worked with regular clay, you'll see really quickly how fast this does dry out. So if you have your slip ready, if you have a plastic bag where you can just cut off what you need or pull off what you need, I sort of push out any of the air pockets, just kind of warm it up a little bit. And then again, pinch off whatever I need. Everything else goes in the bag.
Christine, can you explain
Yes.
again about
Yes.
what you said about pulling some out and leaving it out overnight?
Yep, absolutely.
Is that for the slip, or is
Yep.
that what you're working with right now?
That's the slip. So
Okay.
I made this, my slip was pre-made, but what I would do, there's a couple, what I would do is I would take out a chunk, a nice little handful, leave it out to air dry. Even within, I bet you if you leave it outside, even within 6 hours, it's probably dry enough that you can just break it down. You just crumble it and put a little bit of water in it and stir it. And
Okay.
it's going to be, you can see it's almost like a pudding,
Yeah.
you know, like a paste. You want a little bit of the water, and you want a little bit of the paste to go with it. So that's
Okay.
about the consistency. You can see it kind of moving around in there. Thank you for asking. Does that
Okay.
make
Can I
sense?
ask,
Yes, of course, please.
Christine,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt, can I
Oh,
ask
no.
why we can't do that with the wet clay? Does it have to be dry to turn into that slick?
You can do it. It takes a lot longer to break down. So
Oh, okay.
if I were to put this into the water, it would, like if I was pouring water on this right now, the water would just pour off the top of it.
Yeah,
So it's almost as if when it's
got it.
dry, more like a bone dry, once it's dry, it becomes porous again. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So it becomes porous
Thank
again.
you.
Otherwise, it'll just roll right off the top of it. But this stuff, again, it dries pretty quickly. Yeah. And the slip doesn't take that long to make. I'm explaining to that the first thing to you so that you don't like buy the clay, and then try to jump into it immediately. It's just one of those things that they don't really talk about it, but I used to teach ceramics, and even this stuff with the slip is hands down. I've had kids in tears because they didn't do it, because it just doesn't stick. So it's just one of those little cheats that'll make your life a lot easier. So I take,
Thank you.
I just kind of squish it out a little bit and I roll it in my hands. One of the tips, can you see? I think let me switch these. When I am rolling out coils, try not to go back and forth. It's sort of a natural thing to want to kind of go back and forth like this, which what you're going to do, you're going to wind up making a rectangle. And so if you pull it past your fingers a little bit and get your hands on if I'm going on up and down all sides of it, then I won't get like weak spots in the middle of it. Like if I'm going like this will twist, and you can make like weak spots in the middle of it. So I would and as I'm going, I'm working my hands all the way up and down, and I'm stretching it as much as I can. It's getting a little rectangular right now, so I need to move it a little bit more. And actually what I did is it's the teacher in me, but I have my prototype, and then I've already rolled out coils, and I've already got all the things like built, because like I think we talked about this last time, like the cooking show method where you just sort of have everything laid out and ready to go. Okay, so it's stretching out pretty well. What I did with mine is to get your slab. Okay, so this is my slab. This will be the base of it. Now, what I did is a few hours ago, even though I said you need to keep it in a bag, what I did is I rolled mine out. And Christy, you might want to do this with your class when you have your ready over.
Yeah.
A couple of hours ago, what I did is I rolled out my slab and I rolled out 2 coils, like my big coils, and I laid them under wet paper towels. And then I draped a bag over the top of it. So if you have, if you don't have your full amount of time, or if you've got to go, run an errand or whatever, or if you've got, like you said, a class coming or something like that, that's something that everybody can do is they can roll out a little bit of stuff first and then drape it with the wet paper towel. And that'll hold it over for a little bit.
Okay.
Which is good. So, a little bit like clay, like if I flip flop this a lot, it has a memory kind of like regular clay does, where it could warp a little bit. So you don't want to mess around with it too much. What I do is I take, when I'm rolling one out, I always put pencils on the side. I'm hoping that you guys can see this okay. I put pencils on the side because I don't want it any skinnier than my pencils. So I've got my little rolling pin. And again, I rolled this out earlier, so I want to stretch in all directions. So I'll take it this way, and then I'll put my pencils like this, and I'll stretch it. And I'll stretch it this way. And you just don't want it to get too flat. You can see it pushing a little bit and stretching a little bit. Turn and rotate. I can cut some of this off if I need to. I scratched it up. If
Are
you
you just using a wooden dowel?
Yeah, I'm just using a wooden dowel. You can use like a regular, rolling pin also.
Mm-hmm.
But this just happens to be this. I'm all about like whatever you can find in the garage and whatever you can find in the kitchen for tools is always fantastic. So if you need to go over the top of it, it'll flatten out pretty quickly. I had cut, this is a 7-inch triangle. My other one was 8-inch. So whatever you want to do. If I find that I like using templates whenever I can, so I'm not guessing while I've got the clay out, and then I'll just lay my template on top of my clay. Oops, there we go. And then you can use a ruler for a straight edge if you want to, or you can use just go cut if you want it a little more loose. So this is called a needle tool, and this is something that you would get if you bought just a basic ceramics toolkit, or you can just use a toothpick or a butter knife or something like that. So don't feel like you have to go crazy with the art supplies. And then I'll go run the line probably twice on here. And you don't have to do triangle, you can do whatever shape you want. And then, so any of this part that I'm cutting off, this is the kind of stuff that I'm going to want to make coils out of. And so I'm going to slide it back into my plastic bag because it'll dry pretty quickly, especially there in Arizona. The dry heat.
That's right.
Okay. So yeah, so this goes into the bag. Got all this over here. And then when you cut, you get a lot of this fringe, like this frayed stuff right here. And you could just smooth it out with your finger with a little bit of slip, and it'll just sort of slide that right off. So when you're attaching the clay, so I've got my coils here. Again, something really important with your slip, you have to, I call it score, slip, and squiggle. And I'm not the only, you have to score it up. So I'm scoring, what I'm doing is I'm just scratching the side of it. I'll show you the top. If you look at the top, I'm kind of doing some deep cuts into it on the side, on the top, wherever it is you want to put it in there. My coil, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do the same thing here. You can see me scoring and slipping all that here. And what this is doing is, I like to compare it to like Velcro. So you need to have like, it needs to be able to attach to something. I'm sorry, I'm putting my wet paper towel back on my coils.
And if you'll move this the triangle up just a
Yes,
little bit and to the
you got
right,
it.
I think we could see it better.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to add my slip. And then I'm just going to attach. Now, I would spend a little more time trying to get this as even as possible. And then I'm just going to slide it and stick it on here. Now, the first one that I made, like I said, I was trying to make it so it stood up, and it had like the spiral was going to be where the candle stick was, but it's just the pressure. I think the weight of the coils was too much. The weight of the coils was too much, and so it didn't really work. So that's why I'm still working with the flat.
Is the coil attaching on the side or the top?
I'm attaching it on the side, but I was showing you, yeah. So I could smooth that back out. Anything I just
Gotcha.
don't want, I can smooth it back out. Got my slip in here, and I'm going to do it on the side. You could do it on the top too. It just makes it it kind of takes it from that 7-inch, to more like probably like a 5-inch. I'm going a little fast because I want you guys to, so I've got my slip in here. I'm going to pull, attach all that. Think of Velcro. Then that's.
It's like
That's
you're
a good trick,
lightly,
Christine. I didn't know that
I'm sorry.
about the scoring.
Is it what?
It's a good trick.
It's a fantastic. I built a couple things with this before, and I didn't score and slip, and I was like, well, of course I got to use like clay. It's a game changer. It's an absolute game changer. And then, yep.
it's
So
like you're just lightly tapping it on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Pushing it on. You can take it and turn it over, and you can see where it still needs to be attached in the back. And you can kind of score that a little bit and get those pieces. Don't forget the back. It's really easy to get 3/4 away in this thing and you go, uh-oh, I forgot about that side. This was a really good place for your rib tool to come in. Again, it has like a slope in it. If you don't have a rib tool, I'm sure you could use like a butter knife or something, but see how it kind of bends when you're moving it, or maybe like an old credit card or something would probably work. But give this backside a little bit of love too. You want that to attach because the whole front will look like, oh, this is great. It's all attached, everything's safe and fantastic. You flip it over, and it's cracking, so you got to be kind of careful. And then any of these bumps and stuff, if you want to smooth those out, you can use like a sponge with a little bit of that slip in there also. This is what I use for my watercolor paint, but if you were to buy the ceramics tools kit, it would come with a little sponge, and those are the sponge that you usually use for throwing on the wheel and stuff. So this needs to be attached a little bit. So really a lot of my work is going to come into this first part here, making sure that this is all really attached really well. And you can see it's kind of bumpy. And then I can kind of get in here and with a little bit of that slip, come in here and start to drag my fingers on here. Smooth it down a little bit. Get those fingerprints out. One thing I'll say though is make sure that you kind of keep in mind where you attached your last coil, because wherever you attach your last coil, you don't want to keep attaching on that same area. If you keep attaching on that same area, then you're going to naturally have like a weak spot there. So I'll go back through. Now, because mine has been sitting under those wet paper towels, it's not quite as drying. Usually what happens with the air dry clay is when you start bending in these corners and stuff, it'll start to get cracks in it, and you just have to kind of go over it and kind of baby it a little bit. You can come down here and you could take some of your tools and you can clean up some of these edges down here that are sticking to your fancy placemat. And again, this is where it's kind of handy if you can. You see here, you can see the crack. Oh, probably not, because the thing is kind of glaring. You'll see that when I put this next one on, you're going to see that this one's cracked a little bit more. I'm actually, quite frankly, I'm pretty surprised that it lasted underneath this paper towel like it did. So I'm just going to score. Again, I would go a lot slower, but I just want to get this here for you guys. So scoring, slipping a little bit of that mud. And then I'm going to attach it over here instead this time. And then it's up to you. How many layers do you want? How tall do you want it? How tall do you want it to be?
Do you always start in a corner when you're attaching it?
I try to, if I can. And the reason being is it just kind of it's a little more forgiving. See how you can see where it's cracking. Yeah, like right there. I find that the seam like makes more sense than it does if it's in the middle of it. But sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes I got really lucky with my coils tonight, but sometimes you can't help it and the coil just sort of stops where it wants to stop. So I would just, yeah. So this one's a little bit taller. I think I would pinch off some of that top and fold it over a little bit. And this you can see is starting to crack. So I want to really get in there, take my time. The nice thing is that if you want to, with this clay, if you want to, you can just score it up and patch it a little bit too, if you need to, if you see that there's like a gap, or if something is inevitably, some of it's going to be, a little flatter or a little chubbier. And you can always just add a little clay patch to it to try to even it out. You can also turn this upside down again and lay it flat on its top again, and then just to flatten it out. On my OCD days, those are the things that I'll do, is I'll flip it over, try to compress it a little bit so it's not quite as bumpy. So like right here, I don't know if you can really see it, but this is a little thin here compared to maybe some of this right here. So what I would do is I would score up this with a little patch and kind of build that up just a little bit so it doesn't look quite so uneven. Now, the one that I built, my example that I showed you guys, I did 3 layers on it, or 3 coils. This one is, again, it's just 2 right now. I can go back in. If I hold the outside and I take my rib tool, I can slide it up also. And that connects all those coils better. You can even smooth out some of your coils if you don't like the coil look. It's not as easy as it is if you use regular clay. If you spritz it with a little bit of water, it'll probably move a little bit better for you. So whatever you're doing, if you're applying pressure on the inside, make sure you're holding the outside. It gets a little sticky as well. And then I'll check the back and see how it's doing. It's pretty floppy. You see how it's like instantly, can you see it's sagging significantly when you flip it over? It'll do that for quite a while. It didn't stop sagging until it was like completely dry when I was working on mine. So that's attaching all the coils. Again, if you want to make it taller and stuff, you can make There's also slab construction. Slab construction is if you wanted to roll it out and make it, instead of with the coils, you can make it more like I'd be rolled out that triangle base. It's just a little weaker than it would be with the coils. So if you want to, you can also, one of the things I was thinking too, like if you wanted to put dividers in it, you could, divide it up, or if you wanted to maybe do something in the middle, like a candle holder or something like that, you could score and slip and do stuff like that too. But you could build like a little shelves or something in it, little dividers, things like that as well. If I put something in here I didn't like, I can just go back in with my sponge and just get rid of it. Or with my rib tool and just get rid of it, or just my fingers. It's pretty forgiving when you're first working with it. It's when you pack it up and come back, the next day or something like that, that it gets a little more challenging to work with. But I could just erase anything. So if you wanted to, build a shelf again, like I said, or a divider or something like that. When I did the spiral on here, I'm just going to move this out of the way here. And take this. Well, I'll just leave that little shelf there. The spiral, if you wanted to do something like that, or whatever's personal to you, I did the same thing with the coil, except it was a lot skinnier. And the coils are really fun. I mean, you could do coils all the way, little spirals all the way around it too, like a coil pot. If you were interested, you could do a lid. There's a lot of different things that you can do, that you can do with it. Now your spiral, you're going to have to score that when you attach it also. Can you see it? I'm trying to move it so I can see it a little bit better. You could flatten it out a little bit too. Instead of making it quite so round, score it up. Or slip. And with your spiral, I'm going to lay it on its side, but I would build it standing up. And then you can see if you just tuck it and roll with it. I'd probably score this back here too. Whatever's touching, and then just gently roll it, and it'll start to form a spiral for you. Whatever size you want to do. There's a fine line between having a spiral and having a Danish. They can get pretty big pretty fast. So I could, you could just, yeah, exactly. My little Cinnabon here. There you go. And then attach. Now that's obviously quite large, but you could do spirals all the way up it if you want to. The spiral here. Then I would just let it dry for a little bit. Any of the attachments that you do, like the wings, like I did, or the heart, or anything like that. I'm going to move this out of the side and bring my other. I'm going to roll this up and smush it back up. So on my actual sculpture, what I did is, so let's say that when I built, I attached my spiral and my heart and my wings, and I built them all separately, and I tried to make them relatively the same size. And then as they were drawing, you can see when you have your tools. Again, I'll just use a toothpick, and you can see a toothpick works just fine. Also, you want to kind of clean that out as much as you can. Anything that has, especially when you're cutting, if you get like the little bumps on them when they dry, they just kind of are very annoying. It's just part of the clay, but it looks better if you can clean it out. And just keep that nice and clean. That's where these tools come in too. You can whiten them up a little bit if you want to. And that's kind of what I did with the wings as well, as I just built the shape of it and then kind of pushed in, and then carved as it was drawing. at the different stages of drawing, it's a lot easier to carve and to make your designs and stuff. So we get there. One other thing I want to make sure that now what I did is as this was starting to dry, let it dry slowly. So that's another tip too, is if you can either leave the wet paper towel on it. What I did is I had it all built. I went through, I cleaned it up. I came through with all my tools and stuff and tried to get all these little grooves as clean as possible. I like the coil look to it. So I was okay with it being like that. But then I because I have my fancy paper bag tablecloth here, what I did is I just took the paper bag and I draped it back over the top of it. So it's tempting to want to like put it under heat or put it outside or something to let it dry, but it'll crack a lot easier that way. So let it dry a little bit slower. And then once it was dry to the touch, I know it's dry when I can turn it over and the bottom doesn't sag. So that's a good clue. And then what I did is I just took some Mod Podge and I sprayed it. And I sprayed it down and stuff, and it keeps it from, because clay shrinks. So like say if you're putting a votive or something in the middle and you wanted to put a coil around it, just consider that it's going to dry a little bit. So give yourself a little bit of room. But by spraying it, what it's going to do is it'll keep those parts and pieces from falling off. I scored them and I was confident in it, but it keeps little things. Like you don't want to build something that has lots of little tiny like a hand or something that has lots of little tiny fingers. I mean, you could, but it's just things like that just tend to crack a lot easier and they tend to fall off a lot. They tend to fall off a lot easier too. So until you get really comfortable with the material, I would say go a little bit bigger. And if you want to do little details, I would definitely put it in something like you can etch something into it and then you can build on top of that or whatever, but I wouldn't have little skinny things like tree branches or something like that hanging off the side, just especially without the spray. And now then it becomes almost like a gesso. So now I can paint it with acrylic paint. I haven't painted it yet because I just can't decide what I want to do, how I want to finish it off. I don't know if I want it to have, one day I look at it and I'm like, I want to have all these different colors. And another day I look at it and I think I just want it to be, maybe metallics or something, or I don't know. So it's still work in progress and it may never be painted. I don't know. It might just be black, but those are most of the tips that I have for it. But when you're using it and you're decorating it and you've got the most important part is the intention, right? Is if you want to put your child's name, if you want to build a base so that you have what can hold a picture or something, with it. If you want to etch their name into it, I had thought maybe I would put an X for Xavier instead of the spiral for trust. But it's just sort of turned into the spiral instead. So you really can do whatever you want with it. I think that's her intention behind it too, is that like I saw hers, Gabby Bernstein, and hers is just a simple wooden box that almost looks like the soldiers when they have the flags that are folded up into the wooden boxes is sort of what that looks like. So
Christine,
hers was, yes.
Can you explain about attaching the things to the corners?
Yes.
I don't think I got how you exactly attach them. Did you say you let them dry out a little bit first and then?
No, I did. So let's pretend that this coil is my box because I squished my box. So if this is my box, my triangles or whatever. So what I did is I built them on the side. I kept this I would keep this under your wet washcloth. For sure, or slide it in a Ziploc bag. The Ziploc bag's even better. I would prefer that. And let's say like I just started playing with the shape and stuff. And I built it, I would say probably 75% of it on the side. And then I saved any details that I want to etch into it for after it was attached. So like my heart, I just kind of kept playing around, with the shape of it and stuff. And I would cut whatever I needed to cut and clean up whatever I wanted to clean up. And it took a while to do it, but if I start pushing in and stuff. And so then what I would do is I would score and slip that also. So just like this is the corner, of my box, I scored it and slipped it also. And it was wet. The clay was wet. I didn't build it all in the same day. Um, so I scored and slipped that as well on here. So it'd be the same with all, and you see how it's pulling up. You can kind of see how it's pulling up on it. If I didn't score and slip it, let's just say that I attach this, it just pops right off. So that's the difference between the two. So I built my triangle, kept it in my Ziploc bag, came back the next day or a day or two later, whatever, and then started building my shapes and attaching my shapes, put them under the plastic bag and let them dry slowly. And then I sprayed all of it. Because once you spray it, you can't attach anything else to it unless you attach it with glue. And then another thing too is it's air dry clay, but it's not like regular clay that gets fired. It doesn't turn to stone. So you really don't want to put water on it. So you don't want to if you put like a little bud vase or something with it, just make sure that you keep it dry.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions?
I can't think of anything, but you can paint it with just any kind of acrylic paint.
Yep. You can
Craft
paint with
paint,
acrylic
whatever.
paint. Yep. This is a little one, a sample that I made. This is for my little, like the second graders are going to do these. And what I'm practicing with this one's Elmer's glue. If you don't have Mod Podge, this is just watered down Elmer's glue that I put on top of it. And I'm going to paint this one with watercolor. I'm going to try it with watercolor and see how that works. But the other one, yeah, you can put oil paint or you can put acrylic paint or whatever on top of it.
So it doesn't need a gesso, Christine, then?
It doesn't, because
Okay.
it'll just be that white. If you want a gesso, you definitely could put one on top of it. But it's a pretty white. But it'll sit on top of the paint will sit on top of it and won't get sucked in and won't get sucked into it.
I actually have a couple of little pots that Tess made when she was probably around second grade.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, too. Yeah.
I have too.
I was going to close this out.
Was it Xavier artistic?
Yeah, he I think I was showed this last time, but this is his painting, one of his from when he was in elementary school. And they did a guest, they got to talk about they got to choose an artist that they wanted to spotlight. And Xavier was just like Tess, a musician. And so he discovered Salvador Dali and just thought he was like the wackiest, coolest person. So he used Salvador Dali as his influence on that. But he was more drawing wasn't his thing. He loved music. But what he would like to do is we would do paper marbling together, or he liked doing clay also. So I have like a goblet that he made, and of course he had to make a poop emoji, of course. And so there's stuff like that. True to him, when it comes home, we're like, yep, that's yours. Of all the kids in the school, that's all right. But he was a costume kid. Like he would, he loved wearing costumes, and he just was very theatrical. And yeah, so he appreciated, he loved art and stuff. It's just his drawing just wasn't his. He would get really upset with himself if he wasn't drawing the way he wanted to draw. So the closest he would get would be to draw out a pumpkin, and we would and carve it, I think. after a while. But I think that happens to kids. A lot of kids, they around fourth or fifth grade, they kind of decide if art's their thing, and usually it's because of drawing. It's a kind of a strange phenomenon. So I try really hard with my students in class to encourage them to keep up with art, even if it's so we weave and we do clay and we do different art materials and stuff, just so that they don't feel like drawing is, I don't want them to grow up and be like, I can't draw a stick figure. And it's like, well, it's okay, but you sure can, make one heck of a poop emoji.
I think adults are kind of like that too. It's like
Absolutely.
if you can't paint, then you can't do art.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I all the time, I hear it all the time and stuff. And I just want them to understand, like, I don't care if you're gardening, if you're cooking, if you're playing an instrument, it's just as long as you're creating, that's art. That's how I feel deeply.
I was listening to Martha Beck. If any of you haven't listened to the telepathy tapes, I highly recommend it. And I listened to that episode you posted the other day, Anne Marie, about creativity. And I had heard a lot of it just because I love Rick Rubin and I love Elizabeth
Oh yeah.
Gilbert, and I've read both the books on creativity many times. But Martha Beck was on there talking. I don't know if y'all know who she is, but you can look her up. But she was talking about create how creativity. All the studies are talking about if you're anxious, you have a harder time being creative. But she wanted to do an opposite study on if you're creative, does it make you less anxious?
Oh wow.
And so she was doing all this personal research of her, polling people during COVID, and it is overwhelmingly the case that being creative will lower your anxiety. And it doesn't matter if you're good at it. It doesn't matter what you're doing to express your creativity. It's just the expression of the creativity
Yeah.
that is so good for you. And I think it's certainly so many of us have experienced in our, especially in the early days for me, like trying to regulate my nervous system. I had many bouts of being anxious, and I could always turn to my art to take me out of that anxiety and put me in another world, into another state of mind. And I love what you've shown us tonight, and it's just another medium that people can play with and use to be creative.
Yeah.
I love the fact that we're also using our hands and it's so tactile, which
Me.
Oh
I haven't
yeah.
really done that,
Oh,
work with that
there's
tactile nature.
something, yeah, there's something about, even if there's something about just squishing it,
Mm.
and like I have times where I just want to get my hands in it and I just want to push and squish, and I totally agree. And it's cheap enough that if it doesn't work out or whatever, and if you just want, it's I totally agree. I think that, like, when I was teaching high school ceramics and stuff, it was, I had the kids that just hated art and they just didn't want to be there and they had to take it and they were mad. They would come in and they were so angry, and it's like you just give them a ball of clay and there was very few kids that I couldn't hook just by being in that class. It's like, you just take this, just decompress a little bit. It's
Like
okay.
those squishy balls,
Yeah,
those
yeah,
squishy
yeah,
balls that people have to,
yeah,
I don't know what they're technically for, but
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like for the
Reducing
stimulus.
anxieties. Mm.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think I hope that you guys enjoy it, and I would love to see whatever you guys make. I love watching what everybody makes and posting and stuff, and I think it's the sweetest thing ever
Great
that when
idea.
people are, yeah, they're like, I've never drew before, and now all of a sudden after this loss, I'm so wrapped up in my art and stuff. It just makes me want to cry. It's just so beautiful.
I agree.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just love seeing what people post to the group and how it helps them feel connected to their kids, and like seeing when people post their kids' work too.
Yeah.
I need to do more of that.
Same.
That's so much work that
Yeah.
don't think about it, but I love seeing our kids' work too.
Absolutely. Maybe we should have an art show for our kids on the on the group one day.
You'll have to
We've tried
teach
to
me
do
how to do
that,
it.
but
I know you know how.
we do encourage that, and we've had some parents do it, but it's hard to get that sort of buy-in from the whole group. Or maybe they haven't kept it or they haven't got it handy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions or want to comment or share anything before we wrap this up? Joyce, was Courtney artistic?
Yes, and I
I
apologize.
was
for
thinking
just
so.
not here.
I thought she was. Did she draw?
She drew, she painted, she created with clay or dry clay and stuff like that as well. Yeah. I'm so sad I missed the first test and I'm gonna have to go back and watch everything. Ah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful project, Joyce.
Oh,
And see,
thank you.
I'm
I love
excited
working
to
with
do.
paper mache, so it's very similar. I make a lot of paper
Well, you
mache.
could do the same.
Hmm.
You could do
Yeah.
this with paper mache.
Yeah. You could decoupage, you could make this and then like decoupage the top of it too. You don't have to paint it. Like you could just use letters or scrapbook paper or flower paper or something like that and just Mod Podge that on here. That would be beautiful.
Yeah, that'd be
That would
fun.
be a beautiful finish. Yeah, absolutely. I hope to see what you guys
Forward to
made.
doing it.
I just wanted to show this. My
Yay.
daughter was very artistic, but my son wasn't, but it runs on anyways. So I have this, I have a lot of things she's made, but I just think it's so cute. And I
That's adorable.
That is
Yeah.
cute,
I'll
Cheryl.
tell you what, and it's got her name, her initials on the bottom, A.O.
Oh,
Amy Olson. And she has things she's made like this, and she could do them so fast. I mean, it was like she didn't like me have to analyze everything and whatever. No, she just did it. She just made art. I mean, she just had a natural thing for it. And I just think this is so cute. Look.
that
It's
is adorable
beautiful.
with the little ladybug.
Yeah, and the
Can I
bottom,
share as
like,
well?
who would think to do that? I mean, she just did that. She loved any kind of bugs or whatever. And this is just one of the things that I really love and I still have. And she always brought them home. And yeah, I'm sure
How
she has more.
special.
I just ran to get it because I wasn't exactly sure. But yeah, I have Christmas ornaments she's made and a lot. My son had a few, but he really wasn't the same. I mean, some people just love it and some people don't, and she just had a lot of talent, I think. I mean, she probably whipped this together like in 10 minutes. I'm not kidding you. She was like, everything she did was fast, 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 fast.
That's amazing.
What
Thank you for
what you're
getting it.
saying, Christine, about encouraging kids in high school. I think it was like year 8. I'll hold up. I don't know if you can see. This is
Oh
one
my
of
God, it's so
Harry's.
cute. That is
And then,
adorable.
like the monster. Very, very
It's
sort of
cute.
boy stuff.
I love that.
These two,
What's that? Turtles?
so cute.
What?
That's
I
Can you
love
see
that.
them?
Those are fantastic.
They're what?
Anyway, yes, they're in his bedroom. Remind me of him at that age, of course.
Yeah. Oh, it's so sweet. I'm so glad you shared. Both of you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What an
Thank
honor.
you.
Yeah. That's amazing.
I think
So
you've
cute.
inspired us all, and then other
for
people
sure.
will watch it as well when we
Yay.
post it.
Aw. Makes me want to cry. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you so much, Christine, for
Thank
coming
you.
and teaching us that. And
Anytime.
thank you, everyone who is watching this after the fact. We'll let you know when we're scheduled the next meeting. Have a good night.
Hey, thank
Christy.
you. Thanks for reminding me, Christy.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Is it 10 o'clock on
Thanks,
Sunday?
Anne-Marie.
Is it
Bye.
10 o'clock on Sunday? Is it 10?
10 o'clock on Sunday.
Is it 10 o'clock?
10 o'clock.
Well, you know what? Everything's different now. I mean, it's not.
Cheryl, I'm going to stop the recording. Call
Okay.
me, okay?
What?
Just call me.
Oh, okay.
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 Bye. Good night.
Good night. Good night.